Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be giving a full guide for people who want to study abroad, travel abroad for work. It will be a video that will teach you the different routes that you can take to study abroad, and I'll be giving you different examples of how to make this journey very easy for you, and testimonies of people who have done it before, have gotten it right, and what some people do that made them to get it wrong. So if you want to travel abroad, you want to probably maybe work abroad, go to study abroad, or maybe seek a scholarship, I'll be talking about all of this in this video, which are the main ways that people use to travel abroad, the UK, Canada, US, or whichever country that they want to go to. So I will first talk about the study route, which is the study route and scholarship route, which is actually very important, which is one of the main ways that people travel abroad. So the study route is the one I will first be explaining in this video. The study route is basically for people who do not want to probably enter the country through their skills, because it's actually much more easier to get a visa to a country through study visa route. The study visa route is the most easiest to travel to any country in the world, or maybe you get a scholarship and then you use the scholarship to study. So this is the most easiest, but it actually costs you a lot of money except you get a scholarship, and I'll be discussing how to simplify the process as well. So the study route basically means you are going to pay a school fee, and many schools in UK, in US, most of the schools there are not even actually, the locals also go to the school, but those schools are majorly built for foreigners to attract international students because of the level of investment that is put into those schools. That makes the school very, very expensive, that even the average people living in that country cannot afford that kind of education. So that is why school fees is always high for international students. There are schools in the UK you have to pay as high as £20,000, £25,000, and there are schools like University of Chester where you pay which is one of the lowest schools, which you pay about £13,000 if it has not increased right now, but at last year it's £13,000. And we have schools of the University of Sunderland as well, which is also on the cheaper side, but and also gives you some advantage. I know some of the advantage, but I don't want to talk about it right now because I'm not sure if the advantage has shifted or not, so that I won't give you wrong information. So you choose the first thing you want to do if you want to go to the study route. You also have schools in the US that you pay like $30,000 US, $20,000 US, and the likes, and there are also scholarships. So if you want to go to a foreign country, you want to migrate to UK, to US, to Canada to the study route, the first thing you need to do first and foremost is to research the schools, after schools that you want to go to. You can research schools online, and then when you get those schools, research about their program specifics, their program requirements. There are schools, especially when you talk about the US, most of the schools will require you they will require you to write GRE, they will require you to write Hyatt and the likes, for language requirements. And some schools in Canada will also ask you, but it's actually very much more easier to apply to schools in the UK. You can just sit down one day and apply to schools in the UK. If you're applying for masters, you will not necessarily have to write IELTS. You may just use your certificate of English proficiency. If you study a degree in your country and the language of instruction is English, you can go to the school or the Ministry of Education and get your certificate of English proficiency, and then use it in place of the IELTS requirements. So it's actually very easy to apply to schools in the UK, because schools in the UK actually contribute billions of dollars to the UK economy every year. So that's why they make the process a little bit simpler than other countries. But in Canada, there are schools that will also accept certificate of English proficiency from your previous degree, but there are schools that will necessarily require you to write the highest. So you want to know the requirements that are possible. And then in the US, it's a little bit more complicated, because you will have to put your GRE score, and of course there are schools that also waive it for you, but you have to write a letter to them, tell them the reason why they have to waive it for you. And then you also need to know if the school you want to apply to, maybe there's an application fee involved or not. Most of the time in schools in United Kingdom, there are no application fee attached, but schools in Canada sometimes request for application fee, and sometimes in the application process they may ask you to maybe talk a little bit about your research interest, the tools that you'll be using, and the likes. And schools in the US, the application is a little bit much more complex, which you may or may not pay an application fee. Some schools may give you application fee waiver, and some schools will tell you that, okay, if you apply from within this time to this time, you'll be able to apply free of charge. But if you apply after that time period, you will have to pay to apply. And there are schools that also in the US and also in the UK and Canada as well, that tells you that, okay, if you apply between this window period of time, you will be considered for a scholarship. So there are partial scholarship, there are full scholarship. There are partial scholarships, there are full scholarships that you can get in these institutions, and there are also country-specific scholarships that they give to people that come from different countries, and there are also regional scholarships. For example, if you study in Italy, there is a Ladio Dizu scholarship, which I talk about in one of my videos. You can check it, and it's not a stringent requirement scholarship. You don't have to write any exam. You just have to, there are different provinces in Italy. We have the Lazio region. So we have Lazio Dizu scholarship, which actually makes you to pay lesser than 300 euros for your entire master degree. So, and all you have to do is just submit your documentation and everything, and then you will get the scholarship, which is actually very fantastic. You can check the video on my channel. I actually had a video that talked more extensively on that. So there are different scholarship, and you also want to know if you can combine scholarship. There are some schools that give you combined scholarship. Maybe you get this particular scholarship, you get that particular scholarship, and then you can combine it. And there are some scholarship that will not allow you to combine. They will just give you the higher scholarship. So you want to know how the scholarship works, if there's actually a scholarship for you or not. So applying to schools abroad, trying to move to study, is actually a little bit of a tedious process, and the bulk of the work is done, like, not when you are applying for your visa as well, you will need a lot of it. Actually is a lot of work as well, but it's actually very easy. The foundation is quite important, which is actually researching the schools that you want to go to, so that you will not experience any problem. You will know when the application, you will know when you are supposed to apply, you will know the type of scholarship you are supposed to apply for, and every other thing that they may need to know. And also one thing that's quite important as well is to know the way you are going to be paying the school fee if you don't get a scholarship. There are some people that just rush in, accept it, and then during the visa process they encounter an issue, because probably there are some schools that will require that immediately you resume, you have to balance the school fee, and there are some schools that do not require you to balance the school fee. So you first want to research the schools you want to go to, and then read everything that is available on their website. You will get almost all the information that you need on the website, and sometimes if you don't get the information that you need, which is quite unlikely, you can write the school. The contact details is always there, but make sure you read first before you write, so that you won't keep writing again and again, and then you can combine your questions in one email. So you ask them whichever question you want to ask, and then you get all the detailed information that you want to get. Make sure you apply to school that is within your budget, and you should know the payment plan, so that you won't be required to pay immediately after you get there and you don't have the money, because many people actually use proof of fund to support their visa application when they get the admission. So you want to know how the payment goes. Most of the time, some schools will give you your confirmation of acceptance to study, CAS, after you pay a part payment. So you will use the CAS to apply for your visa. But most of the time, some of the embassies, when you're applying for your visa, they also understand the play behind proof of fund. Some people know that, okay, some people use some travel agents to apply to get the proof of fund, and they know that they are going to send the money back immediately their visa is approved. So there are different procedures for different countries. So you want to know the procedure that is required to getting your proof of fund. There are some countries that will not accept a distant relative saying it's going to sponsor you, and there are some countries that we accept We have many of those in Europe, and there are some countries that we only accept your immediate family, maybe your father or your mom, to be the one that will sponsor you, or have the proof of fund, or you have the proof of fund in your account. And there are some countries for example, a country like US is more stringent about the proof of fund. Most of the time, even though you may have the money in your account, they also know the play that goes behind it, that okay, you are just going to send this back immediately you get to the US. It's not your money, you just loaned the money. So they always check the track record, how active the account is. So you don't just put the money all of a sudden. So you want to know the requirements so that you don't get denied. But most of the denial in terms of proof of fund comes in the area of when it's asked to do with the United States. So when you're applying to schools in the United States, you get admission and then you want to apply for a visa, it's advisable to pay a chunk of the school fee before you start applying for your visa, because when you pay a chunk of the school fee, then they will know that okay, you are settled on your school fee. And also, for example, a country like Germany as well will require you to have 10,000 euro in an offshore bank account, and they will not release the money to you all of a sudden. When you get to Germany, it will be released month by month, like 1,000 euro every month. So you cannot borrow that kind of money. So you want to know the requirement for proof of fund and how the payment of the school fee is going to go. So when you get this, look for schools, look for application period, if there's a requirement for application fee or not, and if there's no requirement. And sometimes there's a requirement for application fee. For example, in schools like US, you can write to the school that you want them to waive the application fee for you, and if you give a genuine and cogent reason, they may waive the application fee for you. So you can write such a letter, and if they waive it for you, then that's your luck. So you want to research the school very well, know about the payment processes, know about the proof of fund, how you are going to get it, do you have a reliable source of getting the proof of fund, and the likes. So that is actually the study route. It's actually a little bit of work. You will have to spend money to pay school fee, but in another vein, when it actually has to do with maybe work visa, which leads me to work visa, you won't have to pay school fee. You will only have to look for a job, and then when you get a job, the job will issue you a certificate of sponsorship. So when it comes to going to a foreign country like US, like Canada, like UK, through work visa, there is also something that you need to necessarily do, and the first is actually to get a job. You need a reason for traveling. That's the major thing that will be considered by the embassy. What is your reason? Is this for study, so you need admission? Is it for work, so you need a job? Is it for business, so do you have money? Business actually requires a lot of money. So different type of visa, like global talent visa and high profile visa, like people who went to Harvard, people who went to the top 10 schools in the world, they have high profile visa that they can get to enter the UK. Like if you go to the top 10 schools in the world and then you are in another country, you can apply for high profile visa because they believe that you have something upstairs that you can offer the country, so they give you a visa. But if that's not the case, you can use study, you can use work, or whichever way. So I've talked about studies. So when you're talking about work, the first thing you also need is that you need a job. And it's actually very important that you do it the way you're supposed to do it, so that you will not end up being stranded. I have an issue with many people who believe that the height of their achievement in life is to be in the UK, the height of their achievements is to be in the US or Canada. That is not the height of their achievements. There are some people that are there that are actually living from hand to mouth. There are some people that are there that cannot even take a sick day off. So you want to be careful and you want to do what is right. And we also have, for example, many people go to the UK and in the first month of getting to the UK, they have to their life was like, it was as if their life is over and the likes. Get information from the right sources and know what you really want to do. Plan ahead. Don't just jump into it. Some people jump into domiciliary care worker because care work is actually one of the most common that people get to come to work in the UK. They get domiciliary care worker and then they have a quota of going to client house. Maybe they have 15 quota a day. They have to be driving there. They have to sometimes check there, and sometimes distance is far apart. And then some clients are welcoming, some are not welcoming, and you have to meet that quota every day. It's actually very much more easier if you are not a domiciliary care worker. If you just work in an hospital or a care home and then you cover the care when you have pass, you bounce. But when you have a quota, that is actually another story that makes life like unbearable for a lot of people. So you want to research very well that okay, this is what I'm going to do. So there are different type of work in in UK, US, Canada that you can actually apply to. We have what we call job shortage list for every country. Every country have some particular type of jobs that they need people for. And when you want to work when you go into a country, one of the easiest way to get a job visa is to actually possess a skill that is actually on the list of their shortage occupation list, because the country you are going to, there are people there as well, people who are looking for work. There's unemployment all over the world, but of course the rate is actually different in each country. So you want to know if your job is on the job shortage list. If it's there, then good luck. That's actually a luck. You can then apply to different companies, and then when you want to apply, there's one thing you need to do. You need to first do a research. Go to the official government website of companies that are authorized and licensed to give you job sponsorship. Because when you get a job, the company will have to file for job sponsorship on your behalf, and then they will give it to you, and that's what you will use to apply for your visa and then come into the country. But the company, we have different agents out there that tell you, bring this amount, I'll help you to get a job, bring this amount, I'll help you to get a job, even though they may be in the UK. But if they do not have their license, they will not be able to give you certificate of sponsorship, which is a major requirement to get your visa to come and work in whichever country you are going to. So you want to first and foremost go to the official government website and check for the companies or the agents that are licensed to give sponsored visa. And then when you go to this company, most of the time their websites are there underneath it. Then you can go to their website, and then you will see vacancies. And then when you apply for the vacancy, you may or may not see that they have job sponsorship as part of what they will give you if you're a foreign employee. So one thing I used to advise people who want to travel abroad is that first you have to plan. What job do you want to go there to do? Sometimes I will advise you, sometimes there are people who actually learn just tailoring and barbing and the likes, and then construction. For example, construction was just added to the short job list recently in the UK. So you want to know what you want to go and do. And then there are some jobs that doesn't maybe you are not working for a registered company, or maybe in your country like Nigeria, like Ghana, or so maybe you are locally working, you are just working for yourself and the likes. You can actually you need a portfolio, because when you are actually applying for jobs, you will need a reference to your potential employee. So you can have a YouTube channel, open a LinkedIn account, and whatever it is that you do, always update it online as a social proof, so that you can even maybe teach people how to do it, or maybe before and after. You can do that. So you need a social proof of what you are doing. So I will advise that if you are going there to, maybe you want to apply for tailoring, there are tailoring opportunities that you can apply to in Canada, in UK, in US, and you will get a job, and then they will give you job visa sponsorship, and then you come there. You don't necessarily have to be an accountant or a banker or into tech, but I won't lie to you, tech is a booming industry. If you can devote 1 or 2 years to learning tech, if you have the passion for it, it will actually it will be okay for you, so that you will get a high profile job, a job that pays you very, very, very well, and then you will enjoy your stay over there, and then you will easily get job, and then it will be easy for you to move, because there are blue card jobs in Europe, like Germany, like high profile countries in the European region, that gives blue card. And this actually for people who are really, really skilled, and most of the people are people in the STEM field, like science, technology, engineering, and mathematical line. So you want to be very, very skilled. Your skill, that is your value, is the most important thing here. If you want to go through the work route, get a skill. It doesn't hurt. Get a skill, and then build your social profile, have a social proof. You can also apply to competitions, and when you apply to competitions and you win the competitions, you have the certificate. It will help you in applying for jobs over there, because you are applying as a foreigner to another country. They don't know you. All depends on how to sell yourself And these are some of the things that you consider when you win a competition, when you have a social proof, when you are articulate about what you do, and all those kind of things. These are what adds to you. These are what gives you edge over other applicants, over your competitors. So you want to take all the opportunities. You have to plan for it, apply for competitions, and if you win some major international competition, you may qualify for the global talent visa to go to the UK. The global talent visa, you can be in the art, it can be maybe drawing, it can be an artist, you can be a tailor, you can be whatever skills that you have. You can apply to global talent visa in the UK, but you need to have an equivalent or win some international competition. So it doesn't hurt if you are sure of yourself. You can look out for some international competition in regard to your field, apply for them, and then if you win it, then it's going to be a plus for you. So you need to have a skill, and probably if you already have a skill, maybe you're a banker, you're a doctor, then you already have a license, then you can apply to jobs in whichever country you want to go to, and when you get the job, they will offer you certificate of sponsorship, and then you will go to the country. So the first thing is to make yourself valuable. Do everything you can to make yourself unique. Build your profile, build a social proof that you can use, so that they can see you, because this is one of the way that agents actually have an upper hand that help people get jobs over there. This is one of the way they have upper hand. They are already conversant with the conversations between an employee and an employer, so they know how to communicate value. So this is the edge that they have, but you also need to know how to communicate what you can do, because that's one of the way that will be able to assess you, how you've been able to communicate your value to social proof, to your CV, to your cover letter, and the likes. You must know how to sell yourself. So the study route is a very good one. Even if you're in tailoring, if you're in construction, have a social proof, know how to communicate your skills, look for job, and then first and foremost, go to the government official website, look for companies that are licensed to give sponsorship visa, and then when you get a handful of the ones that are relevant to your field, then you can look up on their website, check their vacancies, apply to jobs there, and if you are very valuable, you get the jobs, and then they give you certificate visa of they will give you they will give you certificate of sponsorship, and then you go to the country and start working. But you need a full-time job to get visa sponsorship. So you get a full-time job, and then you apply, and then you get it. So you have to be careful as well. There's actually news going on right now about people who pay agents as much as £10,000 to come to the UK, and when they get there, they realize that there's no job for them, and they cannot report such kind of an issue, because the job that give you the visa sponsorship is actually why you remain in the UK. So if you go and report that you don't have a job anymore, then it can affect you, because that's the reason for your stay. And you cannot just switch from job to job, because the visa was given to you because you have an experience in a particular field, and then the job was given to you. So you cannot just switch jobs anyhow. No employer will even employ you. They will tell you that no, you cannot work. You have to go back to the company that sponsored your visa. And then people have sold a lot of properties to come to the UK. They cannot go back home. So this actually become a bone of contention for a lot of people. A lot of people turn to almost beggar in the United Kingdom. So you want to really do it right. You want to be wary of agents who promise heaven and earth. You want to be wary of people who will give you what you know you do not deserve. You have to be wary of them. Nothing goes for nothing. If you really want it, you have to do what's required for you to do it. When something is too good to be true in regard to traveling abroad, sometimes it's actually too good to be true. So you want to be very careful. If you are into tailoring, make sure you know it very well. Make sure you have a personal contact with the people that are managing, with the company that says they want to give you a job. Have a video interview with them. Have a deep connect, like personal interview with have a personal one-on-one talk with them, so that you will not get there and then be surprised that you've been scammed, that the job is not there. Of course, some of these agents are licensed, they bring people to the UK, but they don't give them a job. And if they don't get a job, there's no way they're going to get money. And when they don't get money, then they are stranded. So you want to be very sure about this. And one of the ways to actually, you can bypass these agents, by actually making yourself valuable, that you cannot be denied when you apply for whatever it is that you apply. If you apply for scholarship, if you apply for study, you have money to pay, and then if you apply for a job and you know that you have a very good skill, you are valuable. So that's all I have for you in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Kindly subscribe to this channel for such content like this and opportunities across the world that will be bringing across to you. Thank you very much. This is Opportunity News.